Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. Welcome back to the Two Witnesses Live. I'm your host, Watchful, and let's get right into these latest developments. President Trump says the United States is making real progress towards peace with Iran. He told reporters the U.S. is in a great bargaining position and that talks have been very good. Trump postponed planned strikes on Iranian energy sites and power plants. He also mentioned that Iran gave the U.S. what he called a gift involving oil, gas, and access through the Strait of Hormuz, which has been largely closed and has driven global energy prices sharply higher. Iran is pushing back pretty hard. Iranian officials are calling Trump's comments fake news and an attempt to dress up defeat. They deny any meaningful ceasefire talks are happening and say they reject key parts of the reported U.S. proposal. Instead, Iran is demanding a full halt to all attacks and assassinations, compensation for war damage, guarantees against future conflict, and formal recognition of their role in the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, airstrikes from the U.S. and Israel continue across Iran, including in Tehran, with reports of civilian casualties and significant damage. Iran is still launching missiles and drones at Israel and has struck other targets in the region, including a drone hit on a fuel tank in Kuwait airport. So sad. War's no fun. It's terrible to hear about these things, and the confusion is just mind-boggling. The U.S. is sending more troops to the Middle East, including elements of the 82nd Airborne Division. Cheap drones continue to play a major role as a wild card in the fighting on both sides. Meanwhile, here at home, Americans are feeling the pain at the pump as gas prices have soared because of the conflict. Parts of Asia are already talking about energy conservation measures. At the United Nations Human Rights Council, there are heated debates about the legality of the conflict and accusations of regional aggression. In U.S. domestic news, in New York, the deadly collision at LaGuardia Airport between a plane and a fire truck is still under investigation. The NTSB says the runway safety system did not alert and multiple failures are suspected. This crash has added even more pressure on the already chaotic situation at airports. TSA lines are growing longer because of unpaid workers and funding disputes tied to partial government shutdown. ICE agents are now being deployed to major airports to help with security. President Trump has blamed Democrats for the mess, while Senate Republicans are working on a possible funding deal to get things back on track. And in other news, Hawaii is still cleaning up after the recent flooding. Federal Reserve officials are warning about possible inflation risks coming from the economic ripple effects of the Iran war. All right, so moving on to Meta, major verdict against Meta. A jury in Santa Fe, New Mexico, just delivered a landmark ruling against Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. After a nearly 7-week trial, the jury found Meta liable for unfair and deceptive trade practices that took advantage of children and teens. The state accused Meta of misleading young users about platform safety, knowingly harming children's mental health. Say that about the whole internet. And hiding what it knew about child sexual exploitation happening on its apps. Prosecutors showed evidence that Meta knew about the risks, including anxiety, depression, and predators using the platforms, but put profits over safety. Terrible. The jury hit Meta with the maximum penalty under New Mexico law, which is $375 million in civil penalties. New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres called it a historic victory. This is the first time a jury has held Meta accountable in a full trial over child safety and exploitation on social media. Meta says it respectfully disagrees with the verdict and plans to appeal. A second phase of the trial, a bench trial starting around May 2026, will decide if Meta created a public nuisance and what additional remedies may be ordered. This case is being watched closely by thousands of other lawsuits against social media companies. There's also a related high-profile social media addiction trial happening right now in Los Angeles involving Meta and Google and YouTube, where the jury is still deliberating. Almost seems like we should do that at a global scale. Judging the effects of too much screen time. Meanwhile, Delta Airlines have suspended congressional perks. Delta Airlines announced yesterday that it is temporarily suspending its VIP service for members of Congress and their staff. That's awesome. You know what? If you can't fund us, we ain't doing nothing special for you. I love it. That's great. This includes airport escorts that let lawmakers skip regular TSA lines, red coat customer service help, and other dedicated on-ground treatment. Okay, now y'all get to be treated like regular people who get to stand in line. Why don't you go vote on the Save America Act? Man, I tell you what, Donald Trump, he sure knows how to put that pressure in all the right places. Delta says the move is because of the severe strain caused by the ongoing partial government shutdown, which has left TSA badly understaffed and created hours-long security lines across the country. The airline says its top priorities are safety and taking care of all passengers and employees equally. Congress members will still get whatever benefits their personal Sky Mile status gives them, but nothing extra because of their elected position. Delta's special capital desk for booking congressional travel remains open. The suspension is temporary and should end once the shutdown and TSA staffing issues are resolved. Many see this as Delta putting pressure on Congress to end the funding impasse and get TSA workers paid and back to full strength. Yeah, I like that one. That one's that's fun. I love it. Like, what more? Where else are Congress members getting perks that we can add pressure? You know, it's like that's pretty good in my book. All right. So regarding the conservative feud between Joe Kent and TPUSA, apparently there's a growing public feud inside conservative circles between former National Counterterrorism Center Director Joe Kent and Turning Point USA, now led by Erica Kirk, after the assassination of her husband Charlie Kirk last September. Joe Kent, a retired Green Beret, former CIA contractor and longtime Trump ally, resigned dramatically about a week ago. He publicly criticized the U.S.-Israel actions against Iran, saying Iran posed no imminent threat and that the war was pushed by pressure from Israel and its American lobby. That drew sharp accusations of anti-Semitism and conspiracy thinking from some critics. Kent claims that while he was at the NCTC, his team was blocked from fully investigating possible broader angles in Charlie Kirk's assassination. In a recent Tucker Carlson interview, Kent said there are still unanswered questions about the lone gunman narrative and mentioned that the last time he saw Charlie Kirk, Kirk urgently told him to stop us from getting into a war with Iran. Tensions boiled over when private messages from Charlie Kirk expressing frustration with pro-Israel donors were leaked and later published by Candace Owens. TPUSA says a spokesman shared screenshots of those messages with Kent for the murder investigation, but Kent allegedly pushed to make them public. TPUSA now accuses Kent of betrayal and leaking the messages. Kent has not publicly confirmed or denied his role in the leak, which is, as you can imagine, has sparked a messy, very public fight with accusations flying on both sides. There you go. That's what we got for the news. Now let's get into our daily Torment report.
Through shadows deep, through bitter years, I see your strength, I see your tears, the weight of loss, the trials fire, till you rise, reaching higher. They pressed you down, they closed you in, but you endured, you would not bend. Through fleeting wealth and fleeting pain, you held your ground, you bore the strain. Hold on, the dawn will break through every storm, through every ache. Though the world may take its toll, they can't touch your unbroken soul. The cost you bear, the price you've paid, for something pure, for dreams that stayed. They called you small, they called you weak, but it's your strength they cannot break. The walls may press, the night may loom, but there's a light beyond the gloom. It calls you still, it pulls you near, a voice that quiets every fear. Hold on, the dawn will break through every storm, through every ache. Though the world may take its toll, they can't touch your unbroken soul. What's unseen is stronger still. An iron heart, an iron will. No crown of gold, no fleeting gain could match the strength born out of pain. Hold on, the dawn will break through every storm, through every ache. Though the world may take its toll, they can't touch your unbroken soul. Through trials deep, you've made your way. The light grows brighter every day. Hold on, you're almost there. The fire you hold is beyond compare.
So that was I changed the song up on that. We have two songs with the same melody. One is for Smyrna, the church under crushing pressure. That's the one we listened to tonight. It's called Hold On. The one we normally listen to is called Hold Fast, and that one is the church of brotherly love, the Church of Philadelphia. So I thought we should switch that up and listen to the whole song tonight. Subtle differences. It seems like some of you might have noticed. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it's part of a 7-song album that sings about the churches and their attributes as a way to learn about them. And that is available on YouTube Music and Apple and I think even Spotify and a bunch of other places. We submitted it to like 200 places. I'll put a link to the YouTube Music after the show. Meanwhile, let's look at what Donald Trump has been up to. All right, my meeting with the highly respected president of China, President Xi Jinping, which was originally postponed due to our military operation in Iran, has been rescheduled and will take place in Beijing on May 14th and 15th. First Lady Melania and I will also host President Xi and Madame Peng for a reciprocal visit in Washington, D.C. at a later date this year. Our representatives are finalizing preparations for these historic visits. I look very much forward to spending time with President Xi in what will be, I am sure, a monumental event. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. You know, I saw a video from that Donald Trump had done. I can't remember if it was on his timeline or if it was just on YouTube that he was rededicating America to God. It was either May 11th or May 14th. I'd like to actually find out if that was a legit video. I probably saved it in my my bookmark catalog. I'll go look for that if I have time tonight or tomorrow, because that would be definitely something worth watching. I may have even put it on our calendar. But that's pretty cool if that is indeed true. It could have been just somebody doing AI, which it's just so hard to tell. But anyway, that if he's in China, well, he does so many things in a day. He could be in China and dedicate the United States to God on the same day. All right, moving on. 6 hours ago, we are asking for expedited judicial review because they are robbing our country blind. Centers that don't exist are being paid tremendous amounts of money, and yet we have court orders not letting us proceed. Suspicious? They are being protected by our unbelievably corrupt and out-of-control court system. Billions of dollars are being handed over to crooks, and the courts won't let us do anything about it. Again, expedite President Donald J. Trump. That's an ad. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune have been working to pass a clean extension of FISA Section 702, a law that was passed many years ago by Congress to collect intelligence on foreigners and non-citizens. When used properly, FISA is an effective tool to keep Americans safe. For these reasons, I have called for a clean 18-month extension. However, the critical and common sense reforms that were made in the last reauthorizations of FISA must remain intact to protect American people from abuses. Nobody understands this better than me, as I was a victim of the worst and most illegal abuse of FISA in our nation's history. You know, that's probably a true statement. By radical left lunatics who lied to the FISA court to spy on my 2016 presidential campaign, in their attempt to rig the election in favor of crooked Hillary Clinton. That is why, since the first day of my already historic second term, my administration has worked tirelessly to ensure these reforms are being aggressively executed at every level of the executive branch to keep Americans safe, while protecting their sacred civil liberties guaranteed by our American Constitution, with the ongoing successful military activities against the terrorist Iranian regime. It is more important than ever that we remain vigilant, protect our homeland, troops, and diplomats stationed abroad, and maintain our ability to quickly stop bad actors seeking to cause harm to our people and our country. The fact is, whether you like FISA or not, it is extremely important to our military. I have spoken to many generals about this, and they consider it vital. Not one said, even tactily, that they can do without it, especially right now with our brilliant military operation in Iran. Thank you for your attention to this very important matter, President Donald J. Trump. Okay. 7 hours ago. I am so proud of our ICE Patriots. They were unfairly maligned by the lunatic Democrats for years. And now at the airports, in addition to what they are supposed to be doing, they are helping people with bags, even picking up and cleaning areas. They are so proud to be there. The fact is, they shouldn't have to do this, but they are rehabbing a fake image given to them by radical left Democrat politicians. The public is loving ICE, so the Democrats unwittingly did us a favor. They are great American patriots. They just happen to have much larger and harder muscles than most. That's so weird to say. Well, that's pretty funny. Which is what they're supposed to have. Thank you to ICE for the great job you're doing. America is very much appreciates it. President Donald J. Trump. Much larger and harder muscles. Yeah. Okay. 8 hours ago, the radical left, country hating Democrats, are trying to create inner chaos to take away from the great military achievement we are having in Iran. They hate seeing us win so completely and decisively, but the American public sees what is going on. America first, President DJT. And then Make America Great Again. Got to get his, I don't know, what is a weekly or it's like a bi-weekly or a weekly. It's not daily. He doesn't say this daily, but every at least once or twice a week he says make America great again. It's like a just constant reminder. Just in case you forgot. The Democrats don't want to make any deal unless amnesty and citizenship is given to millions of criminals who have entered our country illegally, many of whom have been convicted of serious crimes. Protect America, President Donald J. Trump. Blame the Democrats for the airport mess. They want our country to do badly. They want our country to fail. They broke the already signed bill because they want to take care of criminals who enter our country illegally. Rather than American citizens, thank you to our great ICE patriots for helping. It makes a big difference. I may call upon the National Guard for more help. Oh, lordy, lordy. All right, what is this? Terrible. So, in regards to James O'Keefe posting, California mass in-person election fraud crimes were caught on camera. Recordings show homeless are paid by petitioners to forge real voter signatures to sign ballot petitions on Skid Row thousands of times. Disenfranchised voters say they are outraged after being shown their signatures are forged. Undercover in Los Angeles, James O'Keefe uncovered an election fraud pyramid scheme operating on Skid Row. In part 2 of Cash for Ballots, series hidden camera footage shows petition circulators paying homeless individuals $2 to $3 per form to sign ballot petitions using the names and addresses of real registered voters and forging their signatures. Circulators provided printed lists of voters' assigned identities and directed the homeless individuals exactly what to write, monitoring them to ensure the information matched so circulators get paid. You only write what I tell you to write. Your name's Robert. If you mess up, I can't get paid. The conduct captured appears to violate multiple California felony statutes, including Elections Code 18613, signing another person's name to a petition, Penal Code 470, forgery, Elections Code 18601 and 2, paying for petition signatures, and Penal Code 470, forging signatures. The O'Keefe Media Group, OMG, team and Cam Higbee visited addresses tied to the voters' names being used. One resident said the named voter had not lived at the address for nearly a decade, yet election mail was still being delivered. Doesn't live there. I bought this house nearly 9 years ago. The only reason I know that name is because we still get her mail. Interesting. I always feel really weird when I get the voting ballot because, obviously that's fraudulent. Oops. This is part 2 of an ongoing investigation. The Citizen Justice League will continue to release more footage of these crimes caught on tape. Alrighty. News articles. Skip these guys. Greatest president ever. Agreed. Roger Stone after dinner with the greatest president of my lifetime last Saturday at Mar-a-Lago. Highly respected. I think this is an endorsement. I don't think we read it though. It's new. Highly respected Prime Minister of Hungary. Oh no, this is an endorsement. Viktor Orban is a truly strong and powerful leader with a proven track record of delivering phenomenal results. He fights tirelessly for and loves his great country and people, just like I do for the United States of America. Victor works hard to protect Hungary, grow the economy, create jobs, promote trade, stop illegal immigration, and ensure law and order. Relations between Hungary and the United States have reached new heights of cooperation and spectacular achievement under my administration, thanks largely to Prime Minister Orban. I look forward to continuing working closely with him so that both of our countries can further advance this tremendous path to success and cooperation. I was proud to endorse Victor for re-election in 2022. It is an endorsement, and I'm honored to do it so again. Election day is April 12th, 2026. Hungary, get out and vote for Viktor Orban. He is a true friend, fighter, and winner, and has my complete and total endorsement for re-election as Prime Minister of Hungary. Jeez, he tricked me. Viktor Orban will never let the great people of Hungary down. I am with him all the way. President Donald J. Trump. Look at that smile. Haha. Got you to read another endorsement. Ay, ay, ay. All right. This is, let's see, it is my great honor to endorse. Honor to endorse. There you go. So that is where we left off yesterday. Fantastic. All right, let's move on to Elon. Terrafab AI. That's new. Where does that go to? Terrafab. Join us on our journey. Watch now or share your resume. This is probably the video that he did announcing Terrafab. Yeah, that's exactly what that is. Yep.
And recall that the many...
I did watch that. It was actually pretty cool. But a lot of the stuff we're already well aware of. Him just making the official announcement. Optimus, 19 hours ago. Let's watch this.
Every single day I step into the office, it feels like I'm in a sci-fi movie. When you walk in the office, you have bots walking around autonomously. You come in the lab, you have bots doing laundry.
Working on Optimus has shown me how much progress is possible when we're all working towards a common goal.
A lot of the engineers here are exceptionally ready to get lost in the engineering.
It's super exciting to come into work with all these capable people to develop a product that's gonna change the world.
I think Optimus is pretty uniquely positioned in the fact that we care equally about design and manufacturing.
We're solving manufacturing problems that haven't been solved before at the scale that Tesla operates at.
I feel like I'm surrounded by people who are extremely passionate about what they do, and they're really willing to do whatever it takes in order to get the job done.
I feel like I'm empowered to take a design from start to end. Here at Tesla, if the solution you're looking for does not exist, you do have to build it.
So here at this facility, you can expect to be involved in working on gear manufacturing equipment, turning equipment, as well as getting your hands dirty assembling gearboxes that you've designed.
I have a focus on distribution harnesses. They're difficult to automate and scale. A lot of the work here is trying to figure out new technologies that replace harnesses. You would be doing more component level development.
I work on the design and manufacturing of Optimus's hands.
And I work on all the external structures that you see on the bot right here.
I work on the PCBAs on the robots. We are designing high power inverters in a very small form factor.
As we iterate on our robot design and go into Gen 3 and into mass production, we are getting very close to the human functionality and form factor.
It won't even look like a robot, it'll look like a human in a superhero suit.
I think the end goal is going to be something revolutionary. It feels like the extreme sports of engineering.
That looks really cool. This is basically a job advertisement if you want to go work for Tesla. They're aggressively hiring if you have interest in building something like that, which honestly, if I wasn't doing this in my day job, I probably would aggressively pursue doing something like that, because how cool would it be to be working on robots? Like legit robots. That'd be cool. Kevin Sorbo. What's Conan up to these days?
We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down. We cannot incarcerate our way.
So this is Kevin Sorbo. He says, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, we cannot put people in jail anymore. It's racist. I can't believe this is real. You know? It's kind of an I told you so moment of Matthew 24, right? This is what we expected. Crazy. Let's see. DC Drano. We won the popular vote. We control the Supreme Court. We won majorities in the House and Senate. Americans want GOP policies, and voter ID is supported by 80% of all Americans. And all John Thune can do is make excuses for his incompetence and backstabbing. You have a 53-47 majority. I'm not interested in blaming the Democrats. Meh. Yeah, but you can't get it passed with a 53-47 majority with the filibuster. That's why they keep saying eliminate the filibuster. All right, what is this?
Me llamo Noelia Castillo Ramos.
It's in a different language. Let's see. I've read your story and I found it outrageous that this is happening in Spain. In 2022, she suffered multiple rape in a supervised care center. And what's the response? This is the ultimate goal of human rights organizations. See the entire case from the beginning to the end. They intend each and every one of the steps as part of the protection of human rights achieved through their struggles and victories. We will never listen to them no matter how much they attack us. They have nothing to come. Let's see. They have nothing to come tell us. Rather, we would be the ones denouncing you for what you do to women like Noelia. That's a unique name, Noelia. Never seen that name before, Noelia. The world urgently needs to free itself from these organizations, which are nothing more than law firms of criminals who literally prefer to kill the victims rather than protect them. Yeah, it seems to be a theme. Model Y is the best-selling car. This is by far the best car I have ever owned. Teslas are very cool, especially now with full self-driving. Yep, we literally did a drive just like this last night. We had to go somewhere, and there was was up a hill, and we had these turns that were exactly like this. It was super, super, super tight, and pretty much the exact same experience. Would you trust your car to full self-drive, not off the cliff? Did you see that? Oh man. Where's that? Right there, like right over the edge. Like there's like so little. There's not even a shoulder. That's trusting your car right there, full self-driving. But I kid you not, last night we went on a drive that was very similar to that. And my wife actually made me turn off full self-driving because she was afraid. But for a while, we had it driving us in those wavy roads. It's that good. Surprisingly. All right, moving on. From Benji Taylor. See, I'm honored to be joining X to lead design. I believe this is the most important. Yeah, we really don't care about those who are joining. We just want to know the stuff that's important to know. Model Y. The moon is the perfect proving ground. What's this?
When we get to the moon and establish the base, do we then go on to Mars?
Yep.
Absolutely. That's one of the best reasons to go to the moon. Look, the moon is a couple days away, but it is a great proving ground for us. We're going to get our American astronauts, NASA astronauts on the surface of the moon. We're going to start to interact with the lunar regolith. We're going to do in situ resource manufacturing where we work with the water ice to make propellant. And I'll tell you what, that is a critical capability you're going to need to be able to do when you send American astronauts to Mars someday. They're actually going to have to make their propellant on the surface, and then that's how they come back home from Mars to tell us about it. Not to mention you're going to need nuclear power and propulsion in space. The moon is a perfect proving ground for that. And again, you're going to someday take nuclear power and propulsion farther out into the solar system, explore the outer solar.
Is there water on the moon? I didn't know there was water on the moon. Interesting.
System and bring it down to the surface of Mars to help make that propellant that we're going to need to send astronauts to and from Mars with great frequency.
When we get to the moon and establish
boy, look at that. Laser beams from the eyes. Let's see. From Martin Sellner, the reason white replacement is white guilt. The problem is not in the hardware, but in the software. We have all the financial and logistical means to start remigration. Legal obstacles are inflated or made up. We are lacking political will. because a suicidal ideology has occupied first our universities, then all education, media, churches, arts, and entertainment. If we don't defeat this virus, we will die out. That is a very true statement. Indeed. Stop it. The craziest thing about Newsom's $100 million wildlife bridge is that it will allow cougars and apex predators direct access into suburban neighborhoods filled with pets, children, and elderly. It's like the radical environmentalist version of the purge. Another 10 years of Democrat governance will have cougars dropped from attack helicopters into people's backyards. Oh my God, things are getting so silly. Oh, that's pretty good. All right, sitting down, 1970, 8 welfare programs. 2026, 80 welfare programs. 1970, 1 million legals. 2026, 18 million illegals. So, okay. Planned demolition of America. Yeah. I don't know if it's planned. It is planned because, number one, God knew about it. He knew that things were going to go this way. It's written about in the scripture. So, what can you do? That's Grok Imagine. Justice isn't blind. It's anti-white. Family furious as Kentucky child killer freed 9 years early for good behavior. Ex-Kentucky student sent to jail for shouting N-word is denied early release. Yep, justice is going bye-bye. The media is extremely racist towards white people, especially white men. Swap out white men with any other Democratic, and there's marches in the streets. Can white men finally stop complaining? For 50 years, we've been hearing from men who feel threatened by the gains of women and minorities. Now that the manosphere is in charge, the victim mentality has to go. Whatever. Shut up. Let's see. Bed nooks made for reading. Nice. Let's see. Starship is the most important machine on Earth because it is the only serious bridge between a trapped species and a space-faring one. That is the real truth. Yes. I don't know about that. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the days ahead when Christ returns. Man, the more and more we study these end time events, the more I'm convinced that we're not alone in the universe. The more you study the book of Enoch and you learn about the Watchers and how they came down to Earth, that in and of itself implies that they came from somewhere outside of at least our atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like, they can be on the moon for all I know, but the fact that they came down and touched down on, what is it, Mount Horeb or Mount Vernon or something like that. Yeah, it's the more and more I'm convinced that we're intentionally non-spacefaring right now. And it wouldn't surprise me if when Christ returns that we learn that there is life elsewhere in the universe and that's part of our future. It honestly would not surprise me at all. Just given, you think about it. Think how big the universe is. Why would it be so monumentally large if that's not what we were going to do with eternity? If you're going to live forever, right? If you're going to raise people from the dead, give them new bodies, and they're going to live forever, well, what else are they going to do? It makes sense that we would expand outward into the universe. So I totally get Elon Musk's mentality. He's just ahead of the game. It would not surprise me if, the factories that he's building right now don't survive the movement that the Earth is going to go through and will be used to build, starships. I imagine we'll get a boost in technology. Can you imagine what Jesus has learned in 2,000 years? You realize when he comes back, he's going to be 2,000 years old. Is he the first human to be 2,000 years old? Did he have a birthday when he passed Methuselah's age? Did they do a special celebration for him? Yeah, he's going to come back. He's going to be 2,000 years old. He's not going to be that young whippersnapper he was when they crucified him. He's got 2,000 years on us. That's a trip. All right, let's see. The knowledge archivists. What sickens me about left-wing people, especially the intellectuals, is their utter ignorance of the way things actually happen. George Orwell. Indeed. You can say that same thing about people with the scripture and with religion, is most people prefer fantasy over reality. This is, and that's even evidenced by, those who Jesus confronts in Matthew 7:22. And he says, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not cast out demons in your name? Did we not do many wonderful works in your name? And he will declare to them, I never knew you, you who practice lawlessness. It's just like people live a fantasy rather than reality. Rather than, rather than asking, how did you get into this situation and what can I do to help? They say, oh no, you've got a demon. Let me cast that out. And then they ignore the person thinking they've done an amazing work, thinking they've cast out a demon, and they never really did a damn thing for that person. That happens a lot. I saw that so many times in the cult when I was growing up. People preferred the magic tricks over simply talking to people. If you would actually take the time to legitimately care about somebody and inquire about who they are, and how they got into the situation, what you can truly do to help, that's how you truly help somebody. There can be spirits involved, but unless God tells you there's a spirit involved and you need to cast it out, you shouldn't be doing it. But yeah, so what sickens me about the left-wing people, especially the intellectuals, is their utter ignorance of the way things actually happen. Very true. So more than just left-wing individuals, but there's many people out there who are fooled by fantasy and magic tricks. All right, crazy how it just works. Fix everything, easy switch. I don't know what that's about. Are we in a thread, or are we still on his timeline? Yeah, we are. We're still on this timeline. Okie dokie. Memes. The Dems are not happy with Elon's offer to pay the salaries of TSA. When am I getting paid? Not until I defund ICE. I can pay you. Fascist Nazi. I mean, he is the richest man in the world. Technically, on paper, he's worth over $1 trillion now. I would like to offer to pay the salaries of TSA personnel during this funding impasse that is negatively affecting the lives of so many Americans at airports throughout the country. That's very nice of him. Yeah, honestly, he probably won't even notice it affecting his bottom line. Do you guys know he employs over 150,000 employees across his companies? Woo. He's a big boss. All right. Starship is the hope that our future is bigger than our past. It will enable us to build a civilization beyond Earth, a true multiplanetary civilization among the stars. Indeed. Let's see. Guide to destroying the West. Convince women to hate men. Check. Convince men to hate themselves. Check. Convince minorities to hate whites. Convince whites to hate themselves. Convince the young to be LGBTQIA+. Convince the old that they are backward. Only takes a generation if done correctly. Elon says, accurate. Yeah. Interesting how the Bible predicted that, ain't it? It must. There must be some superior knowledge behind what is written in the Scripture to know that these things were coming. Very much like the days of Noah, eh? Let's see. Optimus. I think we already watched that. That was pinned. That's from yesterday. Let's see. Man with 70. That's from yesterday. All right. Well, I think we're done with Elon's posts for today. Cool beans. All right. I don't have any addressing the house of Israel. I kind of do. The one that I want to address is an hour long, but instead of watching the whole hour long, I'm working on the different segments so that we can just watch a segment and then talk about it. But we'll do that. I don't know, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see what comes up. Let's go look at BB. 2 hours ago. Let me refresh this. Operation Roaring Lion, 2 hours ago. This goes by too fast. Israeli airstrikes rock Tehran's military-industry overnight. Israeli jets. Hezbollah fires 120 rockets from civilian areas. Footage shows aftermath of Israeli strikes across Iran. Swift retaliation. IDF destroys launchers behind Haifa attack. MDA daily casualty update. 1,700 treated, 17 dead since Roaring Lion began. Is that the end? Oops. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the issue of dismantling Hezbollah is now before us. This is connected to overall campaign against Iran, which is still in full swing. Despite media reports, we are determined to fundamentally change the situation in Lebanon. And he's speaking in Hebrew. Maybe he'll do an English version on his timeline. Oh. Heartbreaking. Muriel Dublin, 27 years old, was murdered in the Hezbollah rocket attack on northern Israel. The Iranian terror regime and its proxies are targeting innocent civilians. May her memory forever be a blessing. You know, my heart goes out to these people, and even the ones in Iran. Like, can you even quantify 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 people losing their lives? And yet that's how many people they murdered in Iran before the war even began. You know, we only hear about one or two people from time to time, and it's heartbreaking to hear about the loss of life, but it's worse. It's so much worse. You know, in the United States, we may not feel it because it's not directly happening in our, you know, you're not directly feeling the loss of life close to you. So it's hard to get a sense that, you know, of the world we're living in today. The thing that affects us the most is the price of our gas and our food. How terrible is that? You know, tens of thousands are losing their lives around the world every day. And the only way we really feel it is at the gas pump. That's just stupid. All right. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Let's see. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The issue of dismantling. Okay, so he just posted a link to the same thing. National Security Council Operation Roaring Lion. Message to Israeli public. The government approved a proposal. But okay, does he not have anything to say in here? Well, this was yesterday. Remarks by Sarah Netanyahu at event. Yeah, we tried watching that. All right. Nothing really of substance. I'm told that 90,000 has been murdered per a professional. That wouldn't surprise me. Everything that is getting harder to decipher in the world today. Keep your eyes, Hawaii, open. Yeah. Looks like the robocallers. Okay. All right, let's move on to what we do have. So first I want to show, so this is just basically some updates. I found this video interesting. So this is from a rabbi who's pointing out a new prophecy that I wasn't really aware of that is being fulfilled right now. And this one is going to be going on the calendar.
Just when President Trump was contemplating stopping the war with Iran, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, the leader of Saudi Arabia, is petitioning and begging President Trump to relentlessly pursue the war with Iran until it obliterates Iran. Why is this so astonishing and shocking? Because it is a kiyum, a fulfillment of a precise Chazal, a prophecy from Chazal. In Yalkut Shimoni, Remez 499 Yeshaya, it says explicitly, Shana Shahamelech Mashiach, pronounced as a fact that Melech Paras, Miskara, and Melech Arab, that the Persian kingdom, Iran, will threaten Arabia, and in turn what will occur will be that Arabia, Saudi Arabia, Holech Melech Arabi, the leader of Saudi Arabia, will turn to Edom, to America, and beg them, finish off Iran. This is what's exactly occurring and unfolding right now. Mashiach could come. This is the year Mashiach should come. But what is stopping it? What is holding it back? Another explicit measures. What does it say? Kach Amalehem HaKadosh Baruch Hu Israel. This is what God, Rebbeinu Shalom, says to Klal Yisrael, to the nation of Israel. Banai, my children, Mani Mavakish Mikem. What do I request of you? One thing I request of you, El Kadeshityu, Ahuvan Zev, be loving to one another. Mechabdim Zev, respect one another. As long as there are Jews who don't get the message and who are upset at each other, holding grudges and hostilities and not ba'achdus, we're not united, we are vulnerable, we are susceptible to all attacks. But once we unite and decide to put aside our differences and get together and realize we're all children of Hashem, we will be rendered impervious. And this could be the year that we will see the Geula b'mheira v'yameinu. Amen. Breaking news.
I don't know about you, but that's pretty exciting. I like that. I love hearing about prophecies being fulfilled. I don't know half of what he said, but I love the way he's saying it. Now I got to go follow up and find where that prophecy is that he's talking about so that we can add it to the timeline, because that's pretty cool. That is really cool, and I love his excitement. We should be celebrating, loving one another. The day is upon us. Your redemption is near. All right, so moving on to timeline stuff. So this is Ben Davidson, old friend of the show. I haven't talked to him in a long time. When he was on the show, he and I were talking about the magnetic pole shift that he spends every day monitoring, along with the space weather, is very likely associated with the seal number 6. So this is him saying things are accelerating again. So let's listen in what he's got to say here.
Birthday record magnetic anomaly. Happy birthday.
He's so weird. I love it.
Happy third birthday, you rancid motherfucker.
He's got a mouth.
Anyway, it is the third. Technically, it is 3 years and 1 day. It would have been lovely if I could have done this yesterday, wouldn't it? But I'm doing it today because it is 1 day past the 3-year anniversary, the third birthday of the 2023 record magnetic anomaly from March 23rd. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Dr. Sergei Semenenko, one of the most brilliant people in Russia, started talking a little bit too much about the disaster, and so they sent his ass to the, quote, far eastern branch of the Russian Academy of Sciences. That's a fun little rabbit hole to go down someday. But anyway, they managed to send him there, but they couldn't shut him up. And so he kept looking into this, especially with his weird little cosmology and geophysical hypothesis here. So this was talking about the record magnetic anomaly that took place on March 23rd, 2023. Now, this paper was not published on the internet for a year until March 31st, 2024. We found it a couple days later in the first couple days of April. And the reason why it set us off was because since...
Yeah, so Dina Rona in the chat says Ben always hits the alarm bell. I will agree with you on that. It's interesting because I know he believes in the book of Revelation. We've talked about the magnetic pole shift likely being the opening of seal number 6, where they hide in the mountains and the rocks saying, fall on us, for the great day of his wrath has arrived. And yet he still preaches basically hiding in the rocks, and it's almost like he's a force behind that fear. But nonetheless, he's still a very active voice and somebody who, he's putting in the work to monitoring these things. So I don't put a lot of stock in his calculation, because as far as I know, he's still in the it started off when we were talking that he wasn't expecting the magnetic pole shift till 2050. And then it got moved to 2040, and then it got moved to between 2030 and 2040, and then it got moved to, it could happen at any time, to where now almost every single one of his videos is here we have another metric which is accelerating. this magnetic pole shift. So that's why I'm showing you this, is just like, yeah, he probably does, oversell the fear aspect of this. For us, this is an excitement because seal number 6 is when Jesus returns. When the sky rolls up like a scroll, the mountains and the islands move out of their place. The sun turns to darkness, the moon into blood. Then the sign of the Son of Man appears in the clouds, and he sends his angels to, gather the elect from the earth. That is very likely the first rapture, the first harvest. So not a time for us to be afraid about, going into the mountains and hiding, because if you're on the list, you're getting on the boat. You know what I mean?
The solar storm at this exact time, the end of March 2023, this was when we had been saying, hey guys, something is going on. The KP index is way too high given what the sun is throwing at us. It's tossing something little at us and we're getting moderate to strong storms. It's throwing something moderate to strong at us, but we
are getting a lot of new weird stuff. Matter of fact, the next video is more earthquakes.
Severe to extreme geomagnetic storms. And the auroras, they're completely off the charts. We're supposed to see maybe a couple low latitude auroras every sunspot cycle. We're seeing them every couple of weeks. Florida is almost never supposed to see the auroras. It's seen them 4 times in the last 3 years. That's not good. And it all started in March of 2023 at the end during that specific solar storm. And so this was a huge moment. Looking back and seeing this is the actual explanation. This was when we went from, tracking down to, oh, now we're really on the downward spiral. And it is showing up in this excess Earth vulnerability, this excess auroral production as well. Now, I have been saying that since, we're looking at literally 3 years and a day that I have been saying something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It has been almost 2 years that we have had the explanation. And now, as you all remember, I'm going to make myself tiny. I swear, one of these days, Alice, one of these days. The KP index is, in fact, being underestimated. It's not just me saying, hey, guys, I'm thinking I'm seeing something here. It's not just mainstream science saying, hey, Ben and observers, actually, here's the explanation for what you're seeing, and Ben is right. But here is the actual data. This is what we've been talking about the last couple of days. There has always been the goal, better safe than sorry, kind of like you would rather be wrong on 20 tornado watches than miss just one killer tornado.
Fair point.
You would rather be conservative, better safe than sorry. That's this goal range up here. They wanted to be almost a point above what the KP actually was showing. Now, they are not only failing that goal range, they are in negative bias. Okay? Meaning they are actually underestimating the solar storms. And this is so quintessentially wonderful. This is sort of a whole thing coming together. It was back then that we started noticing it and insisting to you. The video we did on this about this auroral outbreak in November of 2023, top notch, S-tier video, one of my best ever. Then we figured out why, because that was the day we had a major magnetic anomaly. And here we know it's not just me saying it, is it? It is a real thing. This was their goal, and they hit it exquisitely for 35 years, pretty much. Then they started to fail a little bit. And after about, what are we going to call that? Maybe 40 years of hitting their goal, Then they started failing and failing and then failing rapidly. And now they are actually underestimating. This is as bad as it gets. If you are the government's NOAA Space Weather Prediction Center, this is as bad as it gets in terms of your KP forecast. This is the last thing. You want to be up here. This is what you want. You get below the white line, you are screwing up so damn bad. Now, true enough, I didn't notice until maybe right about here. This is when I noticed that things had accelerated. However, this area right here, this was sunspot minimum. I'm telling you, there weren't enough solar storms to fucking notice anything during the last sunspot minimum. It's not that there was a complete dearth of them, but there just weren't enough to really tell.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter if he's accurate or not. The fact that he's realizing things or changes, and he's one of the prominent voices on the topic, that's the whole reason why we're watching this. Like, he's basically, this is information that helps us to understand, what seal number 6 is and when it's going to happen. Potentially going to happen. All right, so here's another one. So this is the second video that Silky has done on the earthquake. She's been noting a lot of these massive earthquake changes. 2 days ago, she did one on Alaska moving due to earthquakes, and then today she did this one.
Earthquake magnitude 7.6. The shaking was felt as far as Sydney, Australia. And I'm talking about Tonga, guys. Tonga. Beautiful area, these little islands in the Pacific. But the Pacific Ring of Fire is doing something there. And this is crazy because we've had a lot of magnitude 6 earthquakes in the region in the last few days, amongst magnitude 5, 4, but 6. And so the magnitude 6 seemed to have been a foreshock to this magnitude 7.6. So something is going on there, because this is an area, this is a monstrosity. So you need to hear that. This is the strongest earthquake in 8 years. And why is this area so significant when we see earthquakes there and this massive cluster swarms with high magnitude earthquakes? Because we had a historic, we have to say, and well-documented earthquake, January 15th, 2022. Earthquake and volcano induced tsunami disaster in that area in Tonga. Underwater volcano Hunga Tonga Hapai experienced a massive explosion that generated a tsunami that has affected the entire Pacific Ocean basin. So that is absolutely crazy. The tsunami waves that were created by that eruption had reached heights of 15 to 20 meters, so almost 100 feet, 50 to 65 feet, and higher in some areas of Tonga. And these islands are flat, right? There are some islands in the Pacific region that are a little bit mountainous, but this is destructive, right? The disaster caused widespread destruction, destroying all homes on Mango Island and severely damaging beach resorts on other islands in the area. So when we hear such a big earthquake, and that just happened, guys, that's fresh from the earth, I'm on the pulse for you. We have to look at, whoa, with that cluster swarm, what's going on? And we've seen it when the megathrust earthquake hit Kamchatka in Russia. We saw volcanoes triggered. So an earthquake that size alone can trigger underwater landslides, but can it trigger other underwater monsters? Or what is moving there? What is happening? You have to hear that. This is not just one earthquake, as I said it. The region was already shaking. Is this still a foreshock? Well, I so hope not, because all the other magnitude earthquakes that struck in the same zone are already significant, and that's not random. We have to make that clear. It's not random. That is a seismic swarm, a cluster of strong earthquakes that is releasing stress along the same fault system. So we have to look at what we're dealing with here, because here is where Shizzy gets serious, I have to say. Hasn't hit the fizzy yet, but will it? This is happening along the Tonga Kermadec subduction zone. And since we're dealing with the Pacific Ring of Fire, there are the subduction zones, right? That horseshoe ring where we have most of the severe earthquakes in the world and most of the volcanic eruptions. That ring, that horseshoe ring, is lined up with volcanoes. So one of the most extreme tectonic boundaries on Earth are in this Tonga region. This subduction zone is if I want to be nice,
yeah, let me show you what she's talking about. It actually shows up on my little Sky Sentinel thing here I've been working on. So this is Tonga. So if we close this, zoom out. Where's my reset button? Well, come here. And where's Tonga? Seriously. Hang on, I just had this. I don't think that's Tonga. I think the icon disappears when it goes on my smaller screen. Here, let me... Yeah, that's a bug. Tonga. 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 There we go. Here we go. Okay, so this is Tonga, and then where she's talking about, it's a volcano. It's not. Where's my earthquakes? Dude, they were just here. There they are. All right, so this is where she's talking about right here. So check it out. Earthquake 7.5 right there. And then we can see these things happen if we do this. You can see all the earthquakes happening in that area. So look at that. Look how thick that bar is. So this is just the last 24 hours. But if you go live here, this is all of them that have happened in the last 24, is that, when was this? 3/21, so last couple of days. So that's what she's talking about.
Say interesting, because the Pacific plate here is diving beneath the Indo-Australian plate at an incredible speed, really fast. So we're talking about one of the fastest subduction zones, or the fastest subduction rate on the entire planet. That means the stress is building fast if the plates are moving fast. And when that stress releases, it can release very violently. So now think about what we're seeing. Multiple strong quakes followed by a major 7.6 rupture, and probably we will see more aftershocks. Hopefully aftershocks, if that was the main shock. So what we're seeing here with the clusters, that suggests that a section of that plate boundary, of that subduction zone, is actively adjusting right now. And when it comes to subduction zones, that means it always raises the same question. Is this the main event? Is it leading to something bigger, to a megathrust earthquake? That is possible. A magnitude 7 something quake can be a precursor to a megathrust earthquake. We have seen this because we have to look at the history. Historically, these zones are capable of producing massive earthquakes. I'm talking about megathrust, magnitude 8 and even 9. So let that sink in. But also let's talk about the tsunami risk. Clearly and honestly, we have to talk about this.
Yeah, we don't really need to talk about that. All right, there you go. That's your news, your torment report, and kind of your update on where we are. The reason I played those last three videos, three videos is because it's all pointing to Yeshua returning soon, potentially as early as this year. The increase in the earthquakes, the increase in the solar radiation, these are all signs that are pointing to end time events. Matthew 24 explicitly says there will be earthquakes in many places. We're seeing earthquakes in many places. This isn't entirely new. We've been monitoring the increase in earthquakes for quite some time now. But for them to be happening in conjunction with the solar radiation is worth noting, especially since our timeline puts us pretty to potentially this year or early next year for the opening of seal number 6. So let's see, timeline here. Yeah, so potentially, so if seal number 5 is not opened, then it'll open on August 12th potentially, and then that would put seal number 6 at February 6th of 2027. So either August. So basically in the next 6 months, we could potentially be looking at that magnetic pole shift, which would also be around the time that if that seal number 6 opens. I'm actually leaning more towards the February 6th date because I think the Jews still have a ways to come. I want to see how the war plays out and more prophecy be fulfilled. And the more we learn about these prophecies, I think we'll start to be able to plot them on the timeline here to get a better idea of when things could potentially happen. But these, if you're wondering, these are based on solar eclipses right here. That seems to be based on other things we've seen and observed. Seems to be how God is marking the opening of seals, is based on events associated with eclipses. So maintaining that pattern, that's why we're looking at these eclipses here. So we're a data crunching channel here. We monitor the data. We're not making any specific predictions. I'm not saying that this is absolutely when, the seal is going to be open. It's just this is what fits the pattern. We could be in seal number 5 right now. Seal number 5 seems to be associated with the Great Tribulation, but it doesn't really feel like the Great Tribulation right now. It feels more like the days of Noah. I'm expecting the Great Tribulation to be more like, when they say peace and safety, then nuclear war pops off all around the world, and people, suffer very severely for, a short period of time until the magnetic pole shifts and then Christ returns to gather together the elect from the four corners of the earth. So that's kind of where we're at. In the meantime, you guys did tell me that you liked me reviewing comments, so we'll do that for about 15-20 minutes. I'll go through the comments here that you guys have posted, and then we'll also go through some comments on videos. When Tonga first erupted, they suspected it was triggered by an atomic bomb. Really? Underwater waterfalls west of Australia. Looks like a party map. Yeah, pretty soon you guys are going to have access to these tools. I've been working on getting them ready to release publicly. I've been adding features to the timeline so that you can add comments to events, suggest changes, kind of like social interaction on timelines. Compare them with other people's timelines, copy events and information from one timeline to another, compare timelines, just trying to make it the ultimate tool for watching. You know what I mean? Let's see. To promote oneself is not humility and means you are not a prophet. True. So, Fury's reproving somebody. Fury, let's see. Has someone declared themselves to be a prophet on the chat? Probably. Yep. Calls himself a prophet. Oh, Prophet Amos, and claims Christ is coming back in 2030. So the end of the 14-year period of time is in 2031. So if you look at the anchor point from here, what happens if I fit this in screen? There you go. So right here is Tishri 1 of 2017. the end of 14 years is right here, which I can't imagine very much prophecy extending beyond 2031. So it is possible that, like, so what I would imagine would happen is you might have seal number 7 open here in 2028, and then you potentially could have, and I don't know how that fits in the pattern. Maybe because there's this period of time between here and the opening of the first seal, you'd have the same period of time from the opening of seal 7 to the very end. Yeah, that makes sense. So, maybe this is when the bowls and the trumpets happen between here and here. So 2031 could be the very end. But as far as Messiah returning, tell me if I'm wrong, but seal number 6, Matthew 24, when you look at Matthew 24, where it says he's gathering together the elect, tell me if I'm wrong that those two sections match. Am I crazy to think that? So right here, right there, and then where's Revelation 6? That's Daniel, Jeremiah. Call me crazy, but these two things sound the same when you read them. So look right here. So this is Matthew 24:27. This is after the Great Tribulation. So then there will be great tribulation. So after the great tribulation, for the lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For wherever the carcass is, there the eagles will be gathered together. That seems to imply there's going to be a lot of death. So that makes sense for happening after the Great Tribulation, because wherever the carcass is, the word eagles here, the form word, it's a type of vulture. So basically, that's what it seems to be implying, is that there's going to be a lot of bodies for the birds to feed on. So for wherever the carcass is, the eagles will be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. So here's where the sixth seal. I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth. So you got the sun will be darkened, and the moon will become like blood, and the moon will not give its light. And the stars of heaven fell to earth. The stars will fall from heaven, as a fig tree drops its late figs when shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. So you see the similarities. This gives a little bit more detail. So this one's saying the heavens will be shaken. This one is saying the sky will roll up like a scroll, and every mountain and island will be moved out of its place. Then you have the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn. And then here you said every mountain will move out of its mountain, and the kings of the earth and the great men, the rich men, the commander, the mighty men, every slave and every free man hid themselves in the caves. This sounds to me like they're mourning, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn. So what that means by that is they're going to be hiding themselves in the caves and rocks, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath has come, who is able to stand. But then you have over here, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and glory, and he will send his angels with a great sound of trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of earth to the other. So it sounds to me like seal number 6 is when if you want to call it a rapture, it sounds like that's when that's going to happen. So I don't know what it means to be gathering his elect together. We could be gathered together on the earth, because there is, you could make a case that is the gathering together for Armageddon, which it doesn't make sense to me that Armageddon would happen after all the bodies. I really am beginning to lean towards Armageddon happens before this. But that's why I made this timeline, so that we can start getting crystal clear on the order of events and start making sense of what's written in the book of Revelation, to see if that is the case, because Armageddon is said to produce so many bodies that there's just like mountains of bodies. So when it says the Great Tribulation will produce, wherever the carcass is, there the vultures will be gathered together. You see the connections. But anyway, my point being is seal number 6 seems to be when the revelation is going to, or when the rapture is going to happen. So I don't think the rapture is going to happen in 2031. That would probably be, so I'm expecting that seal number 7. So from what is this? This is January 26, 2028 until 2031 is probably going to be the period of time known as God's wrath. So that's very likely when the earth is going to be shifting. The trees are going to be destroyed. The water turned into blood. All those things, all the plagues come upon the people who are on the earth. That's going to be all the result of the earth changing and going back into potentially Pangea, which we got a video here. So all of these things that's going to be God's wrath, I think. The earth maybe going back like that. That's probably why the we're seeing the earthquakes and the plates shift and stuff like that. That could be what's known as like the birth. I don't know. It's all speculation just based on observation. But the whole Pangea thing is based on bowl number 7, which has a similar phrase to the mountains and islands moving out of their place. But instead of saying mountains and island move out of their place, it says the islands flee and the mountains become a plain. Which it's interesting because that seems to be a tie back to Zechariah 4, where Zerubbabel it says to Zerubbabel that the mountains will become a plain. So there's a connection there to all of that. Does that make sense? Do I need to clarify? Yeah. I don't think I'm a prophet. No, if I'm a prophet, I don't know it. Yeah, I don't make that claim, and I don't recommend anybody make that claim, especially in the end times, because the Bible is very clear about false prophets in the end time. So if you want to put yourself in the line of fire for potentially being a false prophet, by all means, take that on yourself. But as far as me, no, I'm a watch. I'm just I'm a Berean. I'm rather call myself a Berean, somebody who is sifting through the data in order to find the evidence that actually supports what is written in the scripture. Jesus told us to watch, and that's what we do here. This is, we should almost just call this the Watchman's channel or something like that. But 2 Witnesses Live, it is what it is. It's the mission of the channel is to find the 2 witnesses, because that's part of the end time event, of the end time prophecies. And right now, I think we've got a pretty good beat on 2 candidates. Just the fact that they talk every day and say stuff that is relevant and important. Pretty good on that. Anyway, new heaven and earth. That is exactly what that is, Fury. I think that is the new heavens and the new earth. Is basically it's put back to the way it was in the Garden of Eden. And the atmospheric conditions will be restored so that our bodies will live again for like 1,000 years in the same that the way Adam and Methuselah and all those people lived in that day and age. Which I have a theory is the reason why Jesus has been absent for the last 2,000 years. If he's in his new body, he may not want it to age unnecessarily by being subject to the conditions that we're living in right now. It could be as simple as there's not enough oxygen in the air to truly make his body thrive and keep him clean. Just one potential. Yes, I am a watchman. I'm okay calling myself a watchman. I think we are a group of watch people, a group of watchmen. All right, let's get to some comments. So let's see. It's amazing that all my life, and I'm 52, have heard about Jesus and the gospel, but until I was born again and had not heard of God's appointed times or feasts. I want to keep them. It's just a lot to learn now. And where do you start? I know Passover. He is our Passover lamb. That is a really good question. So that's in response to the last Passover. So this was that video I posted that we actually did this a couple days ago. Might have even been last week. Where we watched the video on the Last Supper was the Passover, and Jesus was the Passover lamb. As far as keeping the feast, this is something that we're endeavoring to do in our own lives too. So it's for me and my wife. We're working on doing this together as our family. I also recommend that if you can find a church in your area that keeps the feasts, a really good one, if you're up in Washington, is what's his name? It's Pastor Mark Biltz, El Shaddai Ministries. El Shaddai Ministries. If you can find a church like this, where is it? El Shaddai. Oh, meaning. No, I don't want meaning. I want ministry. There you go. That one. There you go. So this Pastor Mark Biltz runs this church, and he's in Washington State, kind of like on the way towards Seattle. They get together and they keep the feasts and the festivals. So there are churches like this. If you can find one in your area, it's a really good way to start keeping the feasts and the festivals. So he's even got this really cool calendar to where they can show you like what's going on, like what's the current feast and festival, how much time is left, event details, like if you want to go participate in a service or something like that, when Sabbath is, Passover, Seder, this. If you can find a church like this, or if you're even close to him, go visit their church and start keeping the festivals. They'll actually rent out an arena and do Passover together with a bunch of people, which I think is fantastic, because Jesus said, do this as often as you will in remembrance of me. There's very few rules in, doing, the Last Supper, Passover that Jesus recommended, what is it? Communion. Like to do like communion, like there's not really a lot of rules in that. And then as far as Passover, from the actual festival, from when it was implemented when they were being freed from Pharaoh and Egypt, I'd say you could even go to a synagogue. Me and my wife, we have yet to actually go visit a synagogue and start observing these with the Jewish people. That could be fun too. I've always done this with, the festivals. We haven't kept all the festivals of ourselves personally. We're making the effort to do that ourselves. So I'm kind of in the same boat as you, trying to figure out how we can start keeping these. One thing that we're thinking of personally, for one, the Passover we were doing ourselves, but the other feasts and festivals we're actually considering visiting. I'm not close enough to Pastor Biltz to go visit his church, but we're thinking about finding like a local synagogue where we can go visit and learn about the feasts and the festivals, or a Christian church that like El Shaddai Ministries. And there's a lot of them. There's quite a few. There's one down in Oregon. What are they called? They are, Lighted Way Ministries is another one if you're in Oregon. And then, trying to think of, there's one in Idaho. I can't remember the name. Anyway, if maybe we can come up with resources on where to go that you can start keeping the festivals and how to keep them and stuff like that. I'll think about that. We'll see. There you go. Oh, I forgot to give you a heart. Let's see. Biltz, have watched him, has been on Pastor Paul's. I'm in Michigan. Yeah, he's a little far away from you. I have set watchmen on our walls, O Jerusalem. They shall never hold their peace day or night. That is me. That's us. You who make mention of the Lord do not keep silent. Isaiah 62:6. That's pretty good. I'm going to pull that one out next time somebody tells me to stop trying to set dates. I'm sorry, man. You're just not going to shut me up. I observe these things, and I got stuff to say. You don't have to listen. All right, let's keep going. I grew up Baptist in North Carolina. This year will be my 26th year keeping Passover. Oh. So we don't need to eat lamb. I'm still learning. I would recommend eating lamb. Lamb is delicious. Yeah. Malachi 1 verse 11 is a prophecy of the Eucharist and the holy sacrifice of the Catholic Mass. Yeah, I don't know enough about Catholicism, but that I believe is the equivalent of Christian communion, and the Jewish Seder. I know there are definitely differences. I just don't track the differences between them. Okay. Let's see. True. The Last Supper was Passover. Yep. Is America the restrainer? That's a really good question. Oh, that's an old video. Is Donald Trump the biblical restrainer? Did we ever get an answer to that? When the restrainer is removed, it almost feels like the restrainer has been removed. If you look at the signs in the heavens that were taking place, which one is it? I don't have. Oh, I do. Yeah, this right here. There's a sign I don't really talk about a whole lot, just because nothing really happened on this day. So there's a sign that happened on June 15th, 2022, where the 7 planets were in a very unique alignment. You've got the 3 here that you have Ephesus, which their only issue was to return to their first love. But then you've got the 2 churches with nothing to repent from. And then here you've got Pergamum, Thyatira, and Laodicea in the tail of Cetus. So the way I figured this out, and I don't know if this is the right way of doing this or not, but if you take the order of the churches as they're listed, so Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea, and you line them up with the planets, skipping Earth, obviously, because you're there. So these are the observable planets. So if you line them up with the planets that you can observe, they actually match. So the churches actually match the planets. And what I mean by match is they have attributes that are common to each other. So Smyrna, for instance, lines up with Venus. Venus has an atmospheric pressure 92 times greater than the planet Earth. If you were to land a ship on Venus, it would be like going down into the Mariana Trench in the ocean. That's how much pressure there is. So the fact that the church under thalipsis, or crushing pressure, lines up with Venus, I think that's a pretty interesting match. Anyway, when you do that, and you look at this alignment here, you've got basically the churches that have nothing to repent from, except for Ephesus. And then you've got the churches that have serious problems. Pergamum's got doctrinal issues. Thyatira's got issues with Jezebel. Laodicea is the lukewarm church. And then you got the dead church out here, Sardis. My head is covering up. Right here, you got Sardis right here. But what's interesting about this alignment is Cetus is being restrained by Pisces here. So this chain right here is called the restrainer. You've got 2 fish that make up the constellation of Pisces, and it's really hard to tell from newer pictographs. It would be interesting to do a new artist rendition of this, because if you look at old pictographs, this is a chain. These 2 fish are actually chaining and restraining Cetus, the sea creature. So it could be that the restrainer is something spiritual. Maybe it's Michael, the archangel, or something like that. Or maybe, it was just a decree from God. Because it was after this day, it would be interesting to see the difference of the world before 2022 and the world after 2022, to see if we could identify if that was a pivotal point, if something that was restraining evil had been released or removed. You know what I mean? So, and I think in the video that you were commenting on, this one here, we were considering the possibility that like Donald Trump was the restrainer. Short answer, I don't know. I don't know what the restrainer is. Not for sure anyway. The capstone. 666, December 28th, 2028. Oh, you got a bunch of dates. Okay. Apostasy, September 10th, 2029. Rosh Hashanah. Walls breach, July 6, 2033. The 9th of Tammuz. The temple destroyed. 10th of Av in 2033. Well, the temple would have to be built to be destroyed again. State collapse, 2034. This is similar to Mark Biltz's timeline. Let me show you Mark Biltz. So Biltz, my timelines, and then where's Pastor Biltz? Maybe I have it under El Shaddai Ministries. Here it is. This is El Shaddai Ministries. So this is Pastor Biltz's timeline. So he's got Rosh Hashanah in 2029, like you said. He goes all the way out to 2037. So he thinks 2037 is the end of the 70 year, the last generation. And one thing I haven't added on here yet is he's got, well, actually I do have it. It's just not obvious. Is it here? Second half of the tribulation. So he thinks the second half of the tribulation is 2033 to 2034, like you do. Yeah, so your timeline seems to match very closely to Pastor Bilt's timeline, which I've only just started to look at it. My problem with Pastor Bilt's timeline is 2037. I mean, come on. That's 10 years away. With the you know what I need to add on here is I need to add the Revelation 12 sign. When was that? That was like right here. That's too far away from the Revelation 12 sign. I mean, that's 20 years away from the Revelation 12, 1 and 2 sign. Because that happened in 2017. So I really can't imagine that that if the Revelation 12 sign is an anchor point, so that we know when to start looking for events, do you really think that those events are going to fill 20 years? My guess is God likes to work in 7-year increments. So my guess is, and this is just a guess, I mean, it's an educated guess based on patterns that we see that God works in weeks. So, we're already in the second week of years. So, the first 7 years after the Revelation 12 sign, we had seals 1 through 4 opened up. And now we're in the second week of years, and we're looking for seals 5, 6, and 7 to be opened up. Well, the end of that second week of years is 2031. So that's one of the reasons why I have a hard time thinking that this timeline that pushes out all the way to 2037 is unlikely. But as you can see, I am tracking it just because I want to take very serious all of these timelines that everybody's spending their time and effort working on. So you get a heart. Let's see. Mining meteors. Mining meters? Mining meters. I have no idea what you mean. But thank you for commenting. Let's see. New Moon Festival for the beginning of the month, November 28th. Numbers 2811. Sorry, I read that wrong. New Moon Festival for the beginning of the month, Numbers 2811. Okay. I'm really looking forward to the 2-part movie, The Passion 2, coming out in 2027 about Christ's return route. So that's Mel Gibson's working on The Passion Part 2. He went on Joe Rogan and talked about that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. The documentary Journey of Man A genetic odyssey is the history of the human race from the Tower of Babel onward. People did not obey God's command to fill the earth before Noah's flood 60,000 years ago. The documentary Journey of Man, a genetic odyssey, is the history of the human race. Interesting. I'll have to watch that. Thank you, Patrick. What did I just watch? Oh, there was a new video today from what's her, Julia McCoy. She does she has her little AI generated news updates. She did an update today on the discovery that our brains are quantum computers. Like, they think that they can like prove that our brains and what makes us who we are, like the soul of a human person, is actually quantum. To where it's, and this is something that's kind of been along, last couple of years has been kind of a theory, and we've talked about this several times, but that like who and what we are, they're starting to discover, like, genetically at a genetic level. What was it they did? The discovery involved some kind of genetic code or something that they discovered was affected at a quantum level, which led them to some new discoveries. But it's an interesting video. So yeah, we're all about the genetics. So I like this, that there's a documentary here on the Odyssey of the human race from the Tower of Babel onward. Cool. Thank you. What is it called? It's called The Journey of Man. Journey of Man, a Genetic Odyssey. I'm going to write that down so we can watch that later. All right. Let's do just a couple more here. You guys have any comments? Do you think we could see the destruction of Damascus during the conflict with Iran? I hadn't thought about that, but totally. Looking at Chabad now, and they have new recipes. They always make me hungry. Yeah. Do you think we can see this? I do. Yeah. Yeah, we could very likely see the destruction of Damascus in this Iran conflict. Those are the kind of things that we're looking for and taking note of. Fury says, could easily happen, Kelly, because Iran has proxies everywhere, and so many things can happen. If they fire at Israel, Israel will strike back. In fact, Israel has hit Damascus several times so far. Yeah. Yeah, I had forgotten about that, but that is definitely one of the prophetic signs of, that's another marker in the timeline. All right, the Lord Jesus Christ died for our sins and rose again the third day. I'm trusting in his blood to pay for my sins for salvation. I try to do good works because I am saved, not in order to get saved. Thank you for the comment. Oops, wrong screen. There you go. Let's see. I believe so this is in regards to the 12ers. I believe Antichrist, little horn, man of sin is a religious system like Islam. Islam wrote on the dome of the rock that there is one God, and he doesn't beget. Let's see. And he doesn't beget, just like God's word tells us. Look up all the other mentions of the worship. And the image of this beast in Revelation, it's mentioned 7 to 8 times. I think I'm in agreement with you. I believe the Antichrist, well, kind of. I'm going to be posting the video that we just did on the study of the Antichrists. I don't think the Antichrist is the little horn. I fully and wholeheartedly believe that the Antichrist is a spirit, that it's not a person. But that's not to say that the little horn doesn't have the spirit of Antichrist. I think that's an important distinction, just so you don't confuse the two, because it's important. It's really vitally important that you recognize the spirit of Antichrist, because otherwise you won't recognize it when you're talking to it. If people are only looking for a narcissist who's claiming to be God, that you're going to miss all the other people who are, making similar claims about their lives. People who have that spirit of Antichrist. Yeah, so just an important distinction between the two is a religious system. So I think, but you are kind of saying the same thing. The religion is a religious system like Islam. I do believe that that is true about the spirit of Antichrists. Even the man of sin, the son of perdition, is. I lean more towards the man of sin, the son of perdition, being a belief. So in John 5:43, Jesus said, I have come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. If another comes in his own name, him you will receive. Then if you pair that with 2 Thessalonians 2, the man of sin, the son of perdition, sits in the temple of God as God, showing himself that he is God. That to me sounds like someone who comes in his own name. So that sounds to me like the person that Jesus warned us about. And, 1 Corinthians 3:16 says that we are the temple of God. So for me, it seems as though Jesus was warning us about other religions and beliefs other than what he was teaching, right? Because he taught he came in the name of the Father. He taught that he came to fulfill the law, not to get rid of it. And yet today, you have people who are teaching things contrary to what he taught. And they associate it with him. They associate these teachings with him. And he warned us against that. I think that's really that the spirit of Antichrist, and very likely that man of sin, son of perdition. So that's how I see those two things could be the same. If you're looking at the spirit of Antichrist as like a doctrine or a belief, and the man of sin, son of perdition, is the main character of that doctrine or belief. I could see those things. And then ultimately what that would be a religious system. Does that make sense? That might be overcomplicating it, but I think you might be onto something. Waiting on his return, Jenny B. All right. So I guess, didn't we read this one yesterday? So I guess talking donkeys, flirting axe heads and prophets calling down fire from heaven. Yeah, we did this one yesterday. Why is it still here? I'm pretty sure I gave it a heart. Not real biblical. True. Oh, let's see. Flirting axe heads and prophets calling fire down from heaven is all folklore, not real biblical truths. Not sure why you are even talking about the scripture. You should just stick to a historical. I remember you. Historical and folklore setting. Don't try to pass yourself off as a believer just for the sake of clicks to gain higher algorithms. Yeah, you clearly haven't watched the show. How do I get rid of this so we don't keep here? Maybe if I comment on it, it'll filter out. Would love to hear your opinion after watching more of our videos. There you go. Because clearly you don't watch our videos. What program do you use for the timeline? It's custom. We'll be releasing it soon. And you get a heart. Let's see. There's already been a trumpet blast. Has there? Is that Donald Trump? I mean, you could argue that the festival of, you could argue that the Revelation 12, 1 and 2 sign, it's interesting that separates this sign, this guy here, the Revelation 12, 1 and 2 sign that happened on 9/23/2017, is that it was on the Festival of Trumpets. It's because there's another sign here. We can go look at this. This will be our last comment response here. Where is root and offspring? Here we go. Fake. So is this the right one? Here, we'll just do the slideshow. Okay, that's 39. So we've looked at all of the different alignments that match, that have the elements of the Revelation 12, 1 and 2 sign. None of them are close, or none of them are identical to the one that happened on 2017. The one that comes closest is this one right here. So you've got the moon under her feet, the Jupiter is in her womb, although arguably it's higher up. She's clothed with the sun, and there are 12 stars technically, if you count this one as being in Leo. It's really not. But this is the only other alignment that I can find, period, that comes close to matching the alignment that happened on 9/23/2017. But the thing that separates this one from the 9/23/2017 is this one doesn't happen on the Festival of Trumpets. This one happens a couple days later or before the Festival of Trumpets. The one that happened on, it might even be a month before. So let's see, in 439. So this was 8:30, 439. So let's go ask Grok. When was the Festival of Trumpets? In 439 AD. 439 AD. See if that'll give me a close answer. I looked this up before, and it was September 20th, 439. Yeah, so this is September 30th. So this is 10 days past the Festival of Trumpets. So that is another one of the things that makes the 9/23 festival so freaking unique. Do we have it on here? 1993, 2005, 2017. This one right here. Not only is it just very clearly obvious, moon under her feet, clothed with the sun, Jupiter in retrograde for 42 weeks, and you've got 3 planets clearly in the constellation of Leo. This matches more perfectly with that sign listed in Revelation 12:1 and 2, and it's also the Festival of Trumpets. So this is why I say this is uniquely rare, and that it's the only time it occurs. And not only does it meet every single requirement of the sign in Revelation 12:1 and 2, it even goes further, and it happens on the Festival of Trumpets. So I don't know if that's what you're referring to when you said there's already been a trumpet blast. That would be cool if that's what you're referring to, but that's what I think of when you say that. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I think that's probably it for tonight. That puts us at just about the 2-hour mark. Do you have any final words to say in the chat? Let's see, there was about genetic code being affected at the quantum level through proton tunneling. I think that's I think that's what you were looking for, Watchful. Yeah, it was one of her more recent videos. I meant to actually bookmark the part where she said that this implies that spirit is quantum. Where is it? Julie McCoy.
Weeks ago, Nature published something that stopped physicists cold. Scientists at Oxford and the University of Chicago announced they had turned ordinary proteins, the same proteins your cells make right now, the same proteins found in a common oat process in bacteria. Nature found a way for us. Nature found a way for us. A quantum physicist at Oxford, looking at what proteins can do, said nature found a way. That phrase is going to matter in about 3 minutes. Now let's talk about what this means specifically for your brain. Those microtubules Kurian studied, the protein scaffolding running these quantum super radiant networks, they are densely concentrated in neurons. Your brain contains roughly 86 billion neurons, each one containing thousands of microtubules. Each microtubule packed with tryptophan networks operating at quantum speeds.
That's what it was.
This connects to something that 2 of the most credentialed scientists alive have been arguing for 30 years, and that the scientific establishment has largely ignored. Sir Roger Penrose, Oxford mathematician and Nobel Prize winner. Stuart Hameroff, anesthesiologist and consciousness researcher at the University of Arizona. Together, they developed what's called orchestrated objective reduction, or the theory that consciousness itself arises from quantum computations in microtubules.
That's what I was referring to. So I didn't put it in the exact words that she did, because that doesn't translate as cleanly as saying our soul, our consciousness seems to be quantum and not tied to the brain. You heard that right. Do you agree with me that that's basically what it sounds like she's saying? I think that's what they're saying. Is that, and that's good news, because that explains how you can be resurrected. Like if your body, if your brain is not who you are, if the cells in your head are not the thing that makes you who you are, when they die, whatever it is that makes you who you are can be put into a new body. That's what makes this so exciting, because it explains how resurrection is possible. At least to me, this is what I think.
Awareness is not just a byproduct of classical neural firing, that your subjective experience, your sense of self, your inner world is rooted in quantum mechanics happening inside the protein scaffolding of your cells. For 30 years, this was considered fringe, too speculative, no mechanism. In 2025, a paper published in Neuroscience of Consciousness at Oxford Academic concluded the quantum microtubule substrate of consciousness is experimentally supported and solves the binding and epiphenomenalism problems, two of the hardest problems in consciousness research, potentially answered by quantum biology. The fringe just became the frontier. And here's what
I have a theory about when God said that he made man in his own image. I have a theory that his image is that quantum consciousness. In other words, he made us to have a consciousness in the same way that he has a consciousness. So when it says that he made us in his own image, it's that we can have that self-contained identity in the same way that he has the way he has intelligence and identity and the ability to think and, do, so that's what I think when it comes to it. And I think that what makes it confusing is we don't know how to describe it. So we use words like wind and spirit. God is spirit. You know what I mean? So let's see, but that also means you can be put into quantum consciousness, but not a machine. Yeah. The implications are far and wide with this stuff. And what's interesting is this guy, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, this guy right here, Stuart Hameroff, he was on Joe Rogan. Let me go find that episode. Stuart Hameroff. Go watch this episode of Joe Rogan. It's really fascinating. Stuart. Was it Joe Rogan, or am I thinking of Danny Jones? I might be thinking of Danny Jones. Yeah, it's Danny Jones I'm thinking of. So he was on a show called Danny Jones. Let me find the full episode. No. I just see a bunch of clips. I mean, you can just search his name. He's really fascinating to listen to, talking about consciousness and the brain. He's an anesthesiologist, meaning he started to this journey of understanding consciousness because as an anesthesiologist, he didn't understand how the medicine was actually numbing your brain and your body. So it sent him on this journey. It's a really fascinating journey. I can't find the full show. I just see clips. It's like, here's a 10-minute clip. Maybe if I go to Danny Jones. Oh no, that's Danny Jones clips. That's probably why. Anyway, I'll find the video and I'll post it in the description for you guys to watch. Alrighty. Let's call it there. We're over the 2-hour mark now. So thank you so much for joining me. If you like this kind of content, make sure you like the video, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and come visit us here Monday through Friday at 4:30 Pacific time, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'm just reading chat here. Danny Jones did one on Journey of the Soul. Is that the one? I'll get the link and I'll post it in the description. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. God bless you. See you tomorrow. Shalom, shalom.